Hey, hi everyone. My name is Jerry Wise, and this video is about narcissistic parents and when do they actually let go of you. And I want you to hear all four of the things that are important to help with them letting go of you. I've been helping people for 45 years to get their dysfunctional families out of them. And I have worked with folks who have struggled with narcissistic family members for many, many years. And all of the things I'm going to be talking about here, I go into depth in the program listed below, The Road to Self. And I would strongly recommend you sign up for that. I think you will not regret your decision. So what are things that are happening when they actually will let go of you? They will let go of you more so when you have strong inner boundaries. When I say inner boundaries, I talk about detachment, neutrality, when you feel non-affected, or when you feel, we use the term differentiated, because I talk and teach self-differentiation to all of the folks that I work with, because it's so central and basic to changing anything in a family or anything in our relationship systems. Number two, when you become non-reactive to their attempts of doing whatever they're doing, because reactivity enmeshes you. You must defriend them, turn them off, turn off the Wi-Fi between you and them. I know that does not sound easy. It doesn't sound simple. It doesn't sound like you just flip a switch, though in some cases there are people who've been able to just flip that switch. They've just never known they could flip that switch. If you are non-reactive, and you can train yourself to be non-reactive, you will enmesh with them less. They have a lesser hold on you if you enmesh with them less. And they will eventually begin to let go of you. I'm not saying narcissists are not clever and do all kinds of crazy things to try to keep you as their supply, keep you connected. But those people who struggle with that are the ones who haven't been working on strong inner boundaries, haven't been working on becoming non-reactive. They've just worked on becoming avoidant or just avoiding them, but not truly being non-reactive. And they're not working on, say, number three, and therefore, when you've mastered the art of resistance and non-reactive responses. If we learn to be non-reactive and to express non-reactive responses, then we can see that our enmeshment goes down and our confidence goes up. If you can be non-reactive, you will be surprised how much confidence you will gain. And many people say, well, I want to learn to have a lot more confidence in myself. Well, then one of the best things to do is work on being less reactive. Be boring. Be I don't care. Be all those things. And again, in the program that I've mentioned that's listed below, I give you some tools and helps for you to achieve that. And again, if we are less reactive, have less reactive responses, then we will be able to think more, which helps us be more detached and be able to think through what's going on. Such as if they're telling you that you're the worst child in the world, you're going, well, that's how they must think. But that has nothing to do with me. That's inner boundaries. When we have that inner boundaries, they can think that. I mean, I can't keep them from thinking it. They can go tell the whole world that's true. But it has nothing to do with me. It just happens to have my name in it. Because they are not talking about reality. And I'm not going to take their unreality seriously or allow it to upset me because it's nonsense. But we haven't gotten to the nonsense part because we have been so entranced by the family. We've been so enmeshed by the family. We're so used to just using the family super self to think and to feel. And so whatever they say seems right. It may be frustrating, but it seems right to us, or it seems normal. It isn't normal and it isn't right. And we want to take it less seriously. I think that's what's very important. And I think when I think about people go, well, what if they call you an awful name? Like you're a horrible bee, or you're just a terrible jerk, and you're the worst child. I don't know why I even raised you. Again, if you think about that, does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. And I've used the phrase as, I think of it as them calling me Coca-Cola. Well, how realistic is it for me to think I'm a Coca-Cola? Should I get mad at them because they think I'm a Coca-Cola? Should I get angry about that? I don't want to waste my anger on that. It's nonsense. It is irrational. And so if they say, oh, I wish I never would have had you as a child. Okay, well, you may feel that way. I think it's pretty nonsensical and probably not even true. And even if it is true, it's still nonsense. And it's ridiculous that anyone would think that way if they were a parent. So you're just not well. And I want to have greater detachment from that. Number 4, they will begin to let you go when you change your emotional location. Learn about emotional location. I talk about that in the program. I talk about that in other videos. I think it's very important. When you do number 1 that I mentioned, strong inner boundaries. Number 2, non-reactive to their attempts to, upset you. Number 3, when you can master resistance and non-reactive responses. When you do those 3, you're beginning to change your emotional location with them, because we're all in a mobile, and that mobile, we're all connected with the strings. Maybe you remember I remember those when I was in junior high. And a mobile, all the paper things, and then if you pull one, it shifts everybody, because we're all in a system and we have our place. If I want to change my place, I begin to change these things, and that changes my place in the system, and it shifts the system so that I am in a different emotional location. Let me give you an easier example. Let's just talk about emotional triangles. Emotional triangles was formulated by family therapy theorists. Probably, I think at least one of them started the year I was born and came up with the term emotional triangle. And that's where you have, let's say 3 people, an emotional triangle. Betty comes to you complaining about John, and John comes to you complaining about Mary or Betty. And now we have this triangle. Do I tell Betty what John said? Do I tell John what Betty said? They're also not talking to each other. So I'm I'm kind of the third wheel in this. And it's very stressful for them, for her, for him, for her, and for me in this triangle. If I tell Betty, Betty, I know it must be painful for you, what you're saying, but I would suggest you'll need to talk to John to resolve it. And when John comes to you about Betty, I'm sorry to hear that you've been having some struggles with Betty or disagreements or whatever. John, I think it would be best if you were able to spend some time and talk to Betty about that. I think there's much more chance for a resolution. I have just changed my emotional location. I'm not in the location I would have been had I indulged in this triangle. And me go to John and say, well, Betty said this. And I go to Betty, well, John said this. That's a whole emotional location you don't want to be in. So changing emotional location can be really helpful. And I talk about how you can do that in the program Road to Self. People come to me so many times and saying, and I did want to mention one last point. Staying calm and non-reactive does change your emotional location, because you're not doing what you were doing before, which is becoming upset or reactive. That keeps you in that emotional location with a narcissist. I want to change that location, and I can change it by staying calm, non-reactive, and keep them from grabbing my insides, with their nonsense. People have come to me and say, Jerry, what should I do? Can you give me a map to help me see what I need to see? And so I can be much more narcissist proof. And I think that when we do these 4 things, it lowers our attraction or enmeshment to narcissists. It lowers their desire for supply and having us be a host for them. And they just suck life out of us. And often they hate it and are repelled by that. Now, it also can trigger them. I understand that. But the more we learn how to do that, I think the more we find peacefulness, resilience, confidence, and calmness. And if you'll let me help you with those things, you can find that in the program below. I hope that you'll subscribe, comment, and like this video. And I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a great day and be wise.